Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make chicken pot pie soup. So everything you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this. And you have all the ingredients that you would expect to find in a chicken pot pie. Everything from potatoes to carrots to all the different vegetables, some seasoning, chicken, you name it, it's here. This is so easy to make. It's one of those things where, yeah, there's a lot of ingredients to put in, but when it comes back, it has such an amazing taste, and it's something that it's kind of a joy to eat because it reminds you of eating a pot pie. But the best thing is, this is like a soup. There's a lot of it. You could feed a family with this, and it really goes a long way. So we're going to start out with our chicken breasts. We have 2 of them, and we're going to cut off anything like fat or tough pieces or whatever. Just work around this to where you get everything cut off of it, and then we're going to cut it lengthwise about 4 times and then cut across that to actually get little cubes that are going to go into our soup. Now keep in mind, when you're cutting up this or anything else in this recipe, you don't want huge hunks because we are making a soup and you're going to eat it with a spoon, and you kind of want to make sure everything will fit on your spoon. So go ahead and cut these to a decent size. Remember, the chicken will cook down a little bit and that's fine, but you just need to make sure you're not doing jumbo pieces, because when you actually use your spoon, you're going to be picking up a potato or a carrot or chicken or anything in this, and you want to mix the stuff. You don't want just one piece. So go ahead, cut up all your chicken, make sure that it is totally cubed up to where we can use it, and then we're going to move on to our next thing. And once we're doing this, I mean, literally a lot of the prep work right at the beginning is the basic work in doing this. It's not really so hard. It's just you have to cut up a bunch of stuff to get there. So now our chicken is cut up. Now you see there's a lot of chicken out of these 2 breasts that are here. Just sort through it a little bit, make sure you don't have any really huge pieces, and then we'll move on. And we're going to put carrots into this. Now you're going to need about 2 cups of carrots. So you're going to want to clean these. You're going to want to go ahead, just go over the outside of them, make sure that you take off any of the bad pieces and everything, and cut these up again in smaller pieces. Now, if you have some jumbo piece of carrot at the end and you think it's really large circle, go ahead and just cut it in half. You don't really want to use really huge pieces. Then we are going to do a medium onion, which we're going to chop up and then afterwards break it up. Because, when you cut up an onion, sometimes it kind of sticks together. You want to make sure that it's in small enough pieces to go into the soup, that it's not going to be huge pieces, but it's not also going to be locked all together. So go ahead and slice across this, cut through a couple of times until we get it completely cut up. And then just make sure that it is totally broken up, because you really need to work that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on after this to potatoes, because you're going to need about 2.5 cups of potatoes going into this. So go ahead, peel them, wash them, do what you got to do to the outside, then take them, and again, we're going to cut these into smaller pieces because we don't want really huge ones in this. So go ahead and just work your way through all of these. I found that to get what I needed for this, I needed at least 4 decent sized potatoes to get enough to do it. It's one of those things, depending on the size of your potato, it's going to take more or less. Just make sure that, if you're not really sure about it, use a measuring cup and go ahead and just see that you have 2.5 cups worth. And we're going to work our way through all of these. So the best thing is, a lot of the prep work is about to be done here in a second, and this is the best part about it, because peeling potatoes, not my favorite thing in the world. Also, cutting up vegetables, again, not my favorite thing, but you need them in the soup, so you got to do it. So once we get these all cut up, and we just look through it and make sure we don't have any really huge hunks that slip through on us, because in a minute we're going to move to our pot. Now, when you're getting ready to do this, you can use a Dutch oven, you can use a large pot, and I do mean a large pot, whichever is your choice on how to do this. Some people fix stuff in a crock pot, that's all well and good, but I like fixing mine in my Dutch oven because it just kind of works for me. So Dutch oven is ready. I'm going to put about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil in here, and just enough to go across the bottom because I'm going to add in vegetables. So we're going to add in our carrots, we're going to add in our onions, our potatoes, and then we're going to cook all of this for about 5 minutes. So once all of these are in there, we just want to get this up to a medium-high heat and actually get everything in and get it all mixed together, and stir it around a little bit to get that oil onto them so that way they're not sticking to the bottom. So we're going to do this for 5. We're going to make sure that they cook up, because we're going to try to soften up everything from the carrots to the onions to the potatoes, we just want them to actually be a little cooked before we get going. So that way we're kind of ahead of the game. And you can put a lid on it while you're doing this. And I would stir periodically. Now, once we've gotten it to this point, we want to mix it around a little bit, just see how they're doing, see if they've actually softened up enough. And once they have, we're going to add a tablespoon of minced garlic to this. Get that down into there. And then after this, we're going to bring in our chicken, because we're going to put this all in here and we're going to heat it up. Now, we want to cook the chicken for about 6 or 7 minutes. And the whole thing we're going for is to make sure that it's no longer pink. But along the way, you're going to need to stir this. So even if you're putting the lid on, just put the lid on for 2 minutes, come back, stir it, put it on again, come back, stir it, until we get these things totally cooked through. Because we don't want raw chicken in this. We want it to cook. And the minute it starts to turn away from being pink and looking more like cooked chicken, that's what we're looking for. But it takes about like 6 or 7 minutes to get that done. And once we get to the point that we think it's there, then we're going to add some seasoning to it. But for now, just keep stirring it every couple of minutes until it's actually cooked. Now, when we come back and put in seasoning, we're going to add a lot to this. So it's just one of those things you're going to have to hang with this as far as all the different things going into it, because there's a bit. But once it's totally cooked up, you're going to need an array of seasoning. So we're going to start out with 1 teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And we're going to put that in. Then we're going to have 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary, 1 teaspoon of dried sage, and a half a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. And get all of that in there. So there's quite a lot goes in there at one time. And yeah, I just stumbled over it because there's so much in there. But anyway, and then we want to mix this up and get that seasoning through everything. So that way it's all coated. And then once we mixed it, we're going to add 4 cups of chicken broth to this, because this is going to be part of what's going to be the soup mix going in here for the liquid. So at this point, you can turn the heat down to about just straight up medium. You don't need medium high anymore, just to reduce it a little bit. But we're going to cook this for about 20 minutes at this point. And occasionally go in there and stir it up, because you want to make sure that nothing's sticking to the bottom, but you also want to make sure that everything's getting a good chance to actually move around and cook. So 20 minutes and let it cook. And then 20 minutes later, here we go. We are going to add some more ingredients. So once the steam goes away from the screen, you'll see that I'm stirring this up a little bit before I get going. Then I'm going to add a cup of corn. And once the corn is in there, you probably want to mix it up a little bit. And then I'm going to add a cup of milk, because this is kind of giving it that white look. And then after this, we're going to just mix it up a little bit and then let it cook for about 5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to do something to thicken it up a little bit. So go ahead and have your 5 minutes cook time. And when you come back, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Because what we're going to do is take that cornstarch and we're going to take about like maybe 1/4 of a cup of the liquid from out of the soup, put it into whatever bowl or whatever you're using to mix this in, and stir it up to where it's really like mixed through. There's no dry powder left over, and it's really mixed well. And then we're going to pour this back into the soup, because this is going to thicken it. So you basically just used a thickening agent. So once we get it all mixed up, pour it back in. Stir it through your soup to make sure that it goes from side to side, back, front, whatever. And then once we get this done, we only have really one more ingredient we're adding to this at this point, and that's going to be a cup of frozen peas. And this can just be like one of those frozen bags you get from any store. And we're going to cook this for at least 5 minutes, so that way the peas are going to have time to heat up, cook through, not be frozen anymore. And everything else is going to have a time to work together, and it's going to thicken up because we put the thickening agent in as well. And then after this, you're going to be ready to serve it. And this is what mine looked like when I served it, and I put it with some really great bread to the side, and this was such an amazing meal to eat. I think you just might like this one. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.